Learn to knit with Loopy Mango. It's fun and easy. In this video, you will learn how to knit an easy cape from start to finish, step by step. This is a beginner-friendly project. It's knitted top-down in the round. For more tutorials, like and subscribe. Download pattern for this project on loopymango.com. Let's get started. This cowl comes in several different variations, and for this tutorial we will be making size 1 that takes 3 balls of dream yarn and size 15 and size 17 knitting needles. We will be working with 2 strands of yarn together. You can either pull from 2 different balls of yarn, like so, or you can also use just one ball and use the tail from the inside and the tail from the outside. And just put them together and slowly unwind as you're knitting. So I feel that when you're pulling from one ball, the yarn doesn't get tangled as much. So we're always working with 2 strands of yarn for this project. Let's make a slip knot. And we're going to start with using size 15 needles. So that's the smaller needle, size 15, 10 millimeter. You can use any cast on method for this project. We will be using a backward loop. Cast on number of stitches specified in your pattern. When we're done casting on, we need to be careful so that the stitches don't get twisted because we will be knitting in the round. So see, this way you could have a twist. So if you have it, you need to untwist and make sure all the stitches and the needles are facing in the same direction. So everything looks nice and even. And push the stitches to the tip of the needle. So we have the tail end at the tip of the left needle and working yarn at the tip of the right needle. And we connect the first round. I recommend that you use a stitch marker so you can take any piece of string and use it. So insert the needle, yarn over. We're starting with a knit stitch. And then we're going to do a purl stitch. The beginning of the cowl is done in just a simple 1 by 1 rib. So 1 knit and 1 purl. One knit and adjust the stitches as you go. So that was 1 knit, and the next one is going to be a purl. 1 purl. And we repeat this pattern 1 knit, 1 purl to the end of the round. We have 2 stitches remaining in this round. 1 knit and 1 purl. We're now going to move the stitch marker, so just move it from the left needle to the right needle. And we get started on the second round. And you can see the knits and the purls. So 1 knit, 1 purl. And then you just repeat these rounds until you reach the right number specified in your pattern. There's no increases here so far. We're just doing a 1 by 1 rib, 1 knit, 1 purl. You can see like the knits and the purls. And just keep going. And repeat the rounds. They're all the same. So we're done with the neck of the cowl. So you can use the stitch marker, or the tail end also tells you where your rounds start in case your stitch marker falls out, or maybe you don't even want to use it at all. There's another way to tell where your rounds start, is that tail. So you can count the number of rounds to make sure it matches what's in the pattern. Basically, we're just counting those horizontal bars. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. And you're counting all the way to the bottom. This is how you can tell one bar stands for 1 round. Or you can also count from bottom up. Just do not count the cast on. So this was these 2 strands. That's your cast on. We don't count it as a round, but you're counting everything past that. So those horizontal strands of yarn, count all the way to the top. Make sure you have the right number of rounds. And now we're going to do an increase round using KFB. So knit front and knit back. So we had 1 stitch and we did an increase, so now we have 2 stitches. Knit through the front and knit through the back of the same stitch. See, we're not taking that stitch off the needle until we knit through the back. So knit front and back. Knit through the front and now knit through the back of the stitch. So insert the needle, make sure it goes through both strands of yarn. We're knitting with 2 strands. It can be a little bit confusing if you've never knitted with 2 strands before, so it does take a little bit of time getting used to. And you can count the stitches as you go. By the end of the round, when you're done with this increase round, you're going to double your stitches because 1 stitch is going to create 2. So be careful not to lose one of those strands. Go slow until you really get the hang of it. So knit through the front and knit through the back of the stitch. And you keep going until you get to the end of this increase round. And we're now ready to introduce size 17 needles. So we're done with increases. Now we're going to do a 2 by 2 rib, and we are using size 17 needle. So 2 knit stitches followed by 2 purl stitches. So you're still holding your size 15 needle in your left hand, but in your right hand, you started using the bigger needle, size 17 needle. And when you get to the end of the round, you will have all stitches transferred from your smaller needle to the bigger needle. And this is the beginning of that shoulder part of the cowl, the wider part. We've already done the increases, and now we've doubled the stitches, and now we're knitting that part of the cowl that's going to go around your shoulders. For the neck, it was a 1 by 1 rib, 1 knit, 1 purl, and here we're doing a 2 by 2 rib. So 2 knits, knit, knit, and 2 purls. See those horizontal little bars? Those are the purls. And the vertical lines are the knits. And that's it. You just keep going, doing a 2 by 2 rib for the rest of this project. 2 knit, 2 purl. So now we no longer need that size 15 needle. We finished with that first round where we were transferring stitches from size 15 to size 17. And now we just keep going. 2 knit, 2 purl. Just make sure your yarn is in the back for your knit stitches and in the front for your purl stitches. And don't lose that second strand of yarn. And just keep going until you're done. Okay, so we are finished almost. We just have to cast off. But this is what our cowl looks like so far. We're going to cast off in pattern, which means we're going to follow the same 2 by 2 rib pattern and cast off. We start with 2 knits, 2 knit, and we cast off. So 1 stitch left we need to add another stitch. It should be a purl, and cast off. Next one is a purl, and then cast off. So we keep adding 1 stitch, and once you have 2 stitches on that right needle, that's when you do the cast off. So 2 stitches, cast off, add a stitch, cast off. And remember, we're following that 2 by 2 rib pattern. So you'll have 2 knits, 2 purls, and so on. And whenever we have 2 stitches on the needle, we're doing the cast off. Don't cast off too tight. You want to have a pretty loose edge going there so that the cowl comfortably goes around your shoulders. So don't pull the yarn too tight. Go even more loose than your normal tension when you do just regular knitting. Loosen it up a little bit. And keep going until you get to the end of the cast off round. Just a couple more stitches left to cast off, And one more last step. Whenever you're casting off anything in the round for cowls or hats or sleeves, you're going to have that not very pretty gap there. So we want to have a very nice and clean edge. So we're going to add one more stitch there. So insert the needle, yarn over, pull it through, and cast off. This is going to give you a very nice, clean, and even edge, like so. You see? So it's very smooth, no gaps of any kind. We're now ready to cut the yarn and secure. So pull it through that last loop and pull it tight. And we're done. We just have two small ends to weave in, two tail ends, and congratulations. So just pull the yarn on the inside. You can use a tapestry needle or a crochet hook, or you can even do it with your fingers. So you're simply just weaving it in on the inside along the stitches and just hiding that tail end. You can secure it with a felting needle if you have one. So the idea is just to hide it in such a way that it's not visible, but this is the inside of the garment. And we are going to do same thing with the tail end on the top. So pull it on the inside and nicely and neatly weave it in and hide it in between the stitches. And we're done. Other variations. This pattern comes with two variations. The second variation has moss stitch on the bottom. You will find this included in your pattern. Moss stitch is quite easy to do. We have a separate video on a moss stitch if you've never done this stitch before. So many different ways to style this cape. And we have another beautiful yarn for you. This version is knitted with our Mohair So Soft Yarn. This is the rib stitch version and it comes in a separate pattern since this yarn is a little bit different. It's very soft and fuzzy and feels like a cloud. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, and we have a lot more video tutorials for you on Loopy Mango YouTube channel.